times stock price here.
Can you put Excel up?
Oh, am I not?
No.
Thank you. There we go. Actually, let me do that with my camera over here. So I would mute this up. So this is our market value of equity here. And then our enterprise, this is our debt, is 120 million. And so then our enterprise value is just the sum of those two. So 880 million in debt. Now, sorry, enterprise value of 880 million. Okay, we have our multiples here. Looking at these multiples, are there any that you would throw out? Stefan.
Gap to keep it consistent.
So gap you would toss out because you would want it to be a consistent set. Anyone else?
And Taylor.
And Taylor. Why and Taylor?
This is kind of like a liner.
Yeah, the PE is a lot higher and the price to sales is a lot lower, right? So they're definitely an outlier. So you would throw out those two from your selection. So we're going to toss out them. We're going to toss out gap. Okay, so then we get our average down here. And we have our average. And we have our average with the price to sales ratio as well. On the midterm, on the ATC case, you guys always look out for the outliers. Look out for who you should be throwing out. Because there always are going to be some competitors that just don't fit. So we have here we can figure out our market value of equity here. Well, actually, here's the question. So we're given the price to stock ratio and the price to sales ratio and the price to earnings ratio. What should we do? How do we handle? These are in individual per share units. So what should we do for Pelagia?
You calculate earnings per share and sales per share.
Yeah, so we take our net income and we create a earnings per share and we create a sales per share average. So we'll do EPS here is equal to our total net income divided by our shares outstanding. So we have an EPS here. Is that 1 in a million in net income? Did I mess up some? Oh, or is that correct? Oh no, never mind, sorry. Okay. That's correct, right?
Yep.
Okay. And then we do the same thing with sales. So sales divided by number of shares. So this is EPS, this is sales per share. So then we can figure out what the price is. So our price here would be the EPS times our average. And this will give us our multiples price. And we can do the same thing using the sales per share. Now that we get what our price should be using the multiples, what's the next step? What, Mama? Yes, Stefan.
When you do the average of those two,
Uh-huh.
and then you could multiply it with shares outstanding, and you would get, well, you would get the suggested share price, and you would get, if you multiply that with shares outstanding, you get the suggested market value effectively.
Exactly. So we can first take an average. We get the average stock price. So this is the average price. And then we can figure out what the market value of the equity is. So we take the average stock price times the shares outstanding. That gives us the market value of equity. we can add back in debt, which our debt is $120,000. And then that would equal our enterprise value.
Where'd the market value of equity come from?
The average price times the shares outstanding. I'll do the thing for you to see it in a second.
You also use yes as well.
Of course. And for there we go. Okay, so we get that our average, using the multiples, our average equity or enterprise value is $806 million. Did everyone get this? Or if you did not, do you understand now how to do it?
I just did them separately.
You can do it separately too. It probably gives you around the same answer, right?
Yeah, like 816.
816? Because if you average these two, think about if you...
I know. I didn't average them.
Oh,
I was
okay.
just one of them.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
So you're basically saying that if more multiple measurements we got and average them all, the more accurate our estimation.
Well, if you think that for some reason the market is misvaluing your company, so you don't agree with what their currently traded stock price is, right?
Yeah.
Dell is a good example of that, where Dell did not feel that they were being accurately priced by the market. They felt like they were being priced as a PC company, and they were more of an enterprise cloud-based software consulting company by the when they ended up going private. And so the multiples approach would be a good approach for them. But
Does that mean like the more multiples we have, the correct number will be? So
not necessarily. I mean, because what if you're using, you could have more multiples. What if you're using Ann Taylor? Then your number would be
I'm
off.
just saying there's more ratio if we're using like price to book ratio, EBITDA. So the more we have, the better the valuation will be.
It's good to get a range, so that way you have more sensitivity to what your analysis is. Because whatever number you come up with the DCF is, there's so many different assumptions that come into that, right? And so just understanding that this is what the range is with relative valuation from price to sales, from enterprise to EBITDA, and from all of these different metrics really provides you a better, clearer understanding of what the true value of the company should be. Stefan?
Because maybe you mentioned it, I just fell out this, but they sold this company at a discount, right? Or if you would follow this valuation, you would buy it at a discount.
If you were following this valuation, you would say that the company is overpriced. Yes. Okay, do you guys feel okay with relative valuation? Everyone feels good? So I just want to spend a few minutes and talk about the midterm, which is next week. So it is going to be an in-class case. And I will bring your laptops. You're allowed to have your notes and materials you can use to reference during it. Have everything that you need saved on your laptop. I'm killing the internet in the room. So there will be no live internet. All the information you need for the case is on the is in the case itself. You have no need to access the internet for anything. And so just make sure that you have everything organized. If you use Dropbox, for instance, and you have things on cloud, just make sure you have it all in your laptop that you can reference. Don't depend on the fact that it's an open book exam, essentially, because the problem is, if you're spending time looking things up, you're not going to finish. Think about how long it took you to do the homework too, right? You need to know, be able to read through the case, be like, okay, here's the steps I need to take, and boom, start working on it. Are there any questions? Okay. Yes?
Is there gonna be like an Excel file provided, or are we gonna have to like copy all the info from the case?
I'm not that mean. I understand that there is time. I copied it myself.
Okay.
So.
So how will we get it?
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to email you at the beginning of the class the stuff. I'll give you 5 minutes to download, and then I kill the internet. So. Okay. Yeah, it's open book. You can have anything you want. So yes, a formal sheet's fine. I don't care what you use. This is more, if you know how to do it, you can do it quickly. If you need to reference your materials, you're not going to finish.
Best point of reference would be this latest project.
The latest project, that was a midterm.
Like a previous.
I changed the numbers on it and I changed the assumptions, and I tweaked small things for you guys, that just that way the final answers are different than what was available. But yeah, and I took out just a little bit to make it and gave you a little bit of information to make it a little bit easier than what the midterm was. But it was a past one.
Oh.
Don't say that, come on.
There used to be multiple levels of debt. I put them all in together. It was a little bit more complex.
It's gonna be a mix of quantitative and qualitative, like, so the first few classes you talk about like theories and things like that.
There'll be things like SWOT analysis and things like that you'll have to do.
And you said you will give feedback on the second project first?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's why I want it was important to have everyone submit to that. We can. We're doing relative valuation today, which actually is not going to be on the midterm, but it will be an integral part of the final. But I mean, if you have questions, I can answer anything right now.
Alright, so when it comes to discounting future cash flows, should we be using the unlevered cost of equity, and then when it comes to a terminal value, we're using that?
It really depends on the specific case. This one was unique.
So which one would you use for this case?
For this case, it was an APV model for the years that the debt, and then when they paid off the debt, it was using the new capital structure and doing a WACC for the new capital structure.
And then as far as the tax shield, so I was just like confused because when we went back to WACC and we were discounting after year 5 terminal values, but then we were still covering the tax shield, I felt like we were double counting. Is that the wrong thought? Like when I factored my tax shield back in?
No, because you still would have that yearly, that constant growth rate of the tax shield, and you would. But this is actually a good point. For the tax shield, that discount rate would still be the unlevered, right?
The terminal value of that tax shield would be unlevered?
Yeah,
All
it would have to. Stefan?
Would you still have a terminal value for a tax shield if you paid off all your debt? Then you don't have any interest expense
If you had
anymore.
zero debt, if your capital structure was 100% equity, then, so like a reverse LBO, then you would it'd be the cost of equity, it would be your discount rate.
Okay.
I mean, if your tax shield, think about it, if your tax shield's zero,
Because So now it was the same, you just introduced the tax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the case, just talk about the private discount. Do we calculate that into the total value of ITC or no?
It depends, you would in this particular case because of the fact that there was the illiquidity discount, and so that would affect your overall valuation.
So you take off the percentage of the.
35% or whatever, I forget what I made it for this one. But how much was it? 15%?
Because they make more, their net income was around $4 billion, and then the kind of image was kind of blurry, but at the end it's only about 15%.
For the assumptions, I know for the case, I mean, you had things like inventory turnover and days payable, so are there going to be ratios like that, or is it going to be much more like simple assumptions where I don't have to think about it?
I don't know.
This is
Be
really
prepared for both. Uh-huh. But you figured it out.
So how would you recommend studying them? Like,
I don't think it's necessarily studying, more so making sure you have everything prepared and you know how to quickly and efficiently build a DCF model.
So like
And-
redo the case,
What now?
like redo the case.
I would redo the case and make sure that you can do it.
can you post like an answer guide to the case so we can use that as practice?
It depends how quickly I can get it all graded,
Okay.
so.
Well, I mean, like, do you not have like an example of the?
I've changed, so on the DCF, I went through, that's why I gave you guys that Excel file. I tweaked numbers throughout the whole thing. So I have to go back through and I tweaked small assumptions and I tweaked things everywhere. So that way, just not that anyone would ever cheat, but in case anyone had ever seen the answer key from a prior exam from like a few years ago.
Okay.
I didn't want people to have that, so I changed just little things throughout the whole case.
Mhm.
So I have to go back through and rebuild the whole model again myself,
Okay.
based on the tweaks. So, yeah, I've had issues where I've caught people that have used old answer keys, because Harvard Business School cases, unfortunately, there's only a finite amount that are good, and so, I change things so that way I can catch people if they've cheated, based off if they have answers that are something that it was but isn't, and it couldn't be based off what I have, I'm able to identify that. So. But yeah, any other questions? So it takes me a little while. So yes, I will post something. I can't say when I post it. It's not something I have immediately available because I have to go through with the case and do that as well.
Okay.
So there will be, I can give you something by this weekend now, which helps over the weekend but doesn't help right now.
I'm just wondering like what I should practice. Like, should I just go over like the APV stuff and the relative? Or?
Just, I mean, it's a matter of, do you go back through with LinkedIn? See where you made mistakes, and can you do it? I don't know how much and you know, there's some people that are great at building models, can build them very quickly, very efficiently, know exactly what to do, know what the steps are, understand. If you're in that place, if you feel comfortable building a DCF model, then you're probably, you know, that's step one. If you are not, go back to the beginning. Make sure that you can build a DCF model on your own. Try and do LinkedIn, not using what your group did. Just start over from scratch. Just try and do the basic model for the APV here. I have 2 models that are posted online, one called DCF, one called APV, that you guys can use for practice, that give you a full-out format to use. That's another alternative. So having efficient modeling skills is one. Knowing all of the soft side, so that way if I say, give me good justifications for the acquisitions based off what we covered in class and tie it back into the different types of synergies that companies can have.
Okay.
Is that something that you have to like, oh my god, let me look through my PowerPoint notes, or is that something that you actually know and you can easily do? So if there's the valuation and the quantitative side, which is basically can you model and can you quickly model? Do you know what inputs go into the model?
Did you post a key for LinkedIn case?
What now?
Did you post like a key for our first case?
I didn't. In everyone's cases, I said exactly where you made mistakes. Okay. I gave very detailed comments in everyone's. So if you haven't looked at what I emailed you, then look at it because there's
Yeah.
Specifically, like you did this wrong, this is what you should have done.
I have another question. So at the end, when we get down to net present value of our free cash flows and of our terminal value, and then we're adding back in cash, marketable securities, I was kind of confused as to what the names of those, like, would that be enterprise value when you add back in cash and marketable securities plus equity from affiliates?
Yes, so you add back in all of the assets that you have used in the working capital, and in the DCF you add all of those back in. And then that gives you the overall value of the corporation, which is also known as enterprise value. So working from the, that's working from the DCF down, gives you the enterprise value. Working from market value of equity up, it is the market value of equity plus net debt, gives you enterprise value. So you can either go from the bottom up or you can go from the DCF down.
Say that again, so, with enterprise market value, you're looking at the value you got plus debt plus cash, or plus assets?
Okay, you just confused me.
Yeah, I confused myself saying that, so, just in this, so you
Can I write something?
Sure.
This is just the, or here. Okay, you can either, I'm putting this on here because I'm posting this all on. You can either have the NPV of the DCF. We'll just talk about DCF, for instance. Or do you guys just, do you want me to take a few minutes and just talk broader? Do you guys just want, is that helpful?
Let's do it.
Okay. Can somebody give me 2 pieces of paper? Perfect. Okay, I'm coming here and I'll put this on both. This is your quick cheat sheet to DCF modeling. And then I'll do the same thing for APV. Will this make you guys feel better?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm happy to do it. Okay, so DCF. What is the first step always when you're doing a DCF? And by the way, you guys, because I'm doing this and I'm paying attention to what I'm doing, I will not see if I am moving off the page. So just tell me if you can't see it anymore. So with the DCF, what's the first thing that you always need to calculate?
Whack. Also
Whack.
Whack. You need to get the whack, right? So the first thing that you need to get always is the whack. As a component of the whack, this is what you need. You need the cap from cap M, the cost of equity, the cost of debt, the weight of debt, the weight of equity. Cap M is equal to the risk-free rate plus beta times the market risk premium. There are 2 ways to get beta. What's the first way? You did it in LinkedIn.
Regression.
The slope, yes. So the slope of the regression. What's the second way?
Bottom up.
Bottoms up beta.
Unlevering it and relevering it to your own debt.
Exactly. So this is where you use competitors. So competitors beta, and then you unlever it. With their debt to equity, and then you relever it with your debt to equity. Same as you guys just had to do with ATC, right? To get the beta.
Do you weight those according to market cap?
Good question. You use if you can. So for debt, it is always going to be the book value of debt. And what are the components of debt? Kyle?
Long-term debt,
Long-term debt.
notes payable.
So long-term debt plus notes payable. Plus, what else is it sometimes called? It was called in LinkedIn.
Current value of long-term debt.
Short-term portion of long-term debt is the other one that's used. Okay.
For the first option for beta, just
make sure which one goes on the x-axis and which one goes on the y?
Good question. Y is firm. X is S&P.
Okay.
Okay, now for the weight of equity. If you have it, some cases will give it to you, some cases do not. Use the market value of equity if you have it. So first choice is market value of equity. Second choice is total shareholders' equity from the balance sheet. LinkedIn, I had you use the total shareholders' equity, right?
So those are two options.
Yeah, so first of all, the best choice you should always use is the market value of equity. That's ideal. Stefan.
It's much easier, just 1 minus the weight of debt.
Well, define the weight of debt though. How do you find it?
Yeah, but if you find it the way you do that,
Yeah, but
wouldn't you just take 100% minus the debt you find that?
but define the weight of debt. It's equal to debt divided by debt plus equity, right?
Yeah.
So for equity, you can either use market value of equity or total shareholders' equity. This E can either be the market value of equity or total shareholders' equity, right? So you can't figure out the weight of debt unless you know what E is. And then the weight of equity is 1 minus the weight of debt. They have to add up to 1. Yes. Are there any questions so far on CAPM and WAC? Yes.
Going back to Cal's question, when you have like a list of companies, do you do it per company and then weight the company by market value? How do you get that unlevered data for the industry?
The unlevered, okay.
Are they all equal or are they based off of market value? What
It depends what type of company you are. You can either just use a simple arithmetic mean, or you can use the market value. It really depends who the competitors are. If you have like Amazon as one of your competitors in your Cabela, you probably don't want to use the market value because then basically you just have Amazon. Exactly. So you just have to use some common sense in regards to that.
Wait, red light. Total shareholders.
Okay, but
So if you take the average of the beta of the competitor, is that the unlevered beta?
this, the unlevered beta, yes.
Okay, but like if the company D&E is always changing, how do you re-lever that beta?
If the company's debt's always changing,
Yeah.
you use, we're not talking about APV, we're talking about WAC.
Ah, okay.
Okay, is everyone okay so far? I hear a lot of talking. Yes?
Yeah.
You can tie this directly back to LinkedIn. We did both of these for LinkedIn. We did, so you have here, this gives you all the components that you need for WAC. Then WAC is equal to the weight of debt times the cost of debt plus 1 minus the tax rate times the weight of equity times the number you get from CAPM. That gives you your discount rate. Did I say, I put plus? Thank you. Thank you, Joe. Plus. Okay. So this gives you your WAC.
And then for cost of debt, is that normally given?
It will either be given or you will have, there's the 3 ways that you can get it is, it's given, you can use the company's own credit rating,
Okay.
or in the PowerPoints I show you how you can use the tie ratio of the company, create a synthetic credit rating, and do it that way. I have a very detailed example in the PowerPoints.
What's that method called?
Synthetic credit rating?
Okay.
Yeah, so there's 3 ways. So it's either 1 is given, 2 is rating, and the 3 is synthetic rating. That's where you add points onto the risk-free rate. Remember?
Yes.
Okay.
The first one, sorry.
Just, I give it to you, given. Like with ATC, it was given. You knew what the,
5.5%.
yeah.
So to get the cost of debt, let's say it's not given, you add your interest coverage ratio to whatever like the risk-free is.
No, there's a very detailed example in the PowerPoints.
Okay.
If you look back and you'll see it.
Okay.
You figure out what the times interest ratio is, you look at a chart based off of, there's a chart from Ibbotson that says if you have a times interest ratio of this, then you are getting this additional many points on the risk-free rate.
Okay.
And you just, there's that chart. I would not, any information you need in the midterm will be given to you in the midterm. You will not need to look up a chart like that, for instance. It is all available in the midterm. Okay, you have your discount rate. Next up, super easy, free cash flows. Predict out 5 years. In Excel, it is super easy, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, once you have, you can just drag and pull. So you predict out 5 years of sales. Using traditionally either ratios or percent of sales. You predict out your operating cost, property, plant, equipment, and your working capital. So you use this methodology. Free cash flow each year is equal to EBIT times 1 minus the tax rate minus the change in net operating working capital minus your change in property, plant, equipment. And when do you add back in depreciation? When it's gross. So I'm putting a little star there. So only if it's gross PPE. Okay. That gives you your free cash flows for 5 years. You predict it out. Now, I'm just going to put a question here. What's included in operating working capital?
Current asset,
What type of current assets?
short term, so inventory, AR, and prepaid expenses.
Prepaid expenses. Traditionally, toss in cash just because most of the time you'll be doing manufacturing types of firms. So cash, accounts payable. Everything that's dealing with operations.
So like other current and other.
Yes. So if you see other current assets or other current liabilities, you'll normally toss it in too.
Is it accrued? I don't remember.
Accrued. Yeah, accrued
Okay.
liabilities or accruals. Those are wages.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Can you just not read my writing? Do I need to make it bigger?
No, I'm just blind.
Oh, it's okay. Here, does that really help?
Yeah.
Okay.
What does ACC pay me?
Accounts payable?
Oh, okay.
Property, plant, and equipment? Oh, no, prepaid expenses. So this is the operating working capital. Are there any questions on free cash flows? Okay, cool. Next is terminal value, where it's equal to your free cash flow in year 5 times 1 plus your long-term growth rate Everybody knows how to calculate long-term growth rates if it's not given now, right? Okay.
Throw numbers at a wall.
Yeah.
That would be the type of thing that you should probably copy into notes or a cheat sheet that you have with you on your exam, so that way, because you won't have access to your internet. Okay. You have your terminal value. You add, so you add it back to the year 5. You take the NBV, using the WACC, and this is called the value of operations. Once you have the value of operations, the enterprise value is equal to the value of operations plus marketable securities plus other long-term assets. Sorry.
There was something like investments or something in this.
Yeah, so investments in minority,
Yeah.
what was it? Something like that. Equity investments in affiliates, that's minority investment.
That's included also?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Investments. Goodwill, I will not dock you if you include it. Sometimes it's a good idea, sometimes it's a bad idea. It's one of those that it can go either way. This gives you the enterprise value. Subtract out debt. Subtract out preferred stock, if there is. Normally there isn't. And this is equal to the market value of equity.
After marketable securities, what is that?
Plus other long-term assets. And things like minority investment or equity investment in minority affiliate. Things like that.
Wait, you subtract that and then preferred stock?
If there is preferred stock, you subtract out preferred stock. And that will give you the market value of equity. This is the basic DCF. Momo, you have a weird face.
Yeah, I'm just not sure whether I can memorize all those steps.
But you have it now.
Yeah, I have it.
So this is the exam right here, right? And then you have to figure out what the synergies are, do a strategic alliance or the SWOT, and then you're done. No matter what I give you, this is the exam. Are you still scared? Or are you more scared or are you less scared? Less scared. More scared?
It's like the ignorance is bliss.
Go back through, simplest thing for you guys. Do this. Make sure you understand what you are doing. In-class discussions. Before what just happened? This is frozen. What now? What were you going to say?
That's a really technical question.
There you go. That is, you can now walk through a DCF. Yes?
Could you just, long-term growth, like, what would your formula for that?
It's not,
Return on equity multiply the reinvestment rate.
yes.
That's the email you sent?
It's the email I sent. It's in an email. I gave you like 5 steps.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully I have a quick question. So step 7, when you subtract debt, preferred stock, get market value of equity, the debt is built into the enterprise enterprise value based on previous calculations. That that's where it's coming from.
Exactly. Your discount rate. So the more debt you have, then the lower your discount rate is, so the higher your enterprise value.
Okay, all right.
Did you add these much?
Okay, so in-class discussions. We have here the DCF Excel model for practice. Do this. The APV Excel model for practice. Do that. You have where I've given you guys different examples that you can, where I've posted everything that we've done in class, I have posted up here.
Awesome. Thank you.
So that gives you a little bit more to work with. All those examples. Anna.
I just have a question. The terminal value is what minus the long-term growth rate, right?
What now?
In the terminal value, it's what minus long-term growth rate. Right?
Yeah, G here is the long-term growth rate. It's the same.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Is it going to grow? According to growth?
Uh-huh.
So for mergers, when you're calculating WACC, it's always pre-merger data, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so for your WACC, you use pre-acquisition data. So you use the target's data before the acquisition happened. Anytime, just generally, you can use a market value, you use the market value. Otherwise, use the equity value, or the book value. Okay. Another question, where do synergies come from? How would you figure out what synergies are? What are ways that you calculate synergies? Right.
I mean, like, they've been given to us in the case, but like, let's say some examples, like, general administrative expenses will be slashed because we can fire all those people and use our current ones, and then you'll take that off, and it will like trickle down to, like, if it's all East connected, your whole Excel file, it will trickle down all the way to the FCFF and the terminal value and all of those.
Yeah, so a lot of times ways to look for synergies, and you guys will find this in your final project as well, but sometimes in cases as well. The synergies won't be explicitly given to you. Instead, you may have to look at the acquirer. Let's say the acquirer does a better job of managing the company, and they have better operating ratios. You can apply the acquirer's operating ratios to the target for synergies. That's one way that you can find synergies. The other is if the industry just generally is operating more efficiently than the target, then you could apply the industry margins to the company. You can apply the industry margins to a company. So thinking about going back to Cadbury had really bad operating margins versus the industry. So you could use the industry average as a proxy for what potential synergies could be for Cadbury. Those are ways that you can find synergies.
Are you changing essentially all ratios and coming up with like a constant that changes it, or are you going to focus on like gross operating margin?
It depends where you think the operating efficiencies can come from.
So you just write down your assumptions, be like, they have a ton of Amazon's acquiring this, they have tons of warehouses. They want
Yes.
to- Okay.
Yes. Okay. So you guys, those are the steps. And as long as you are able, just find the information to fill out those steps. And then you should be, that gives you a decent starting place for the midterm. Okay? Deborah.
When calculating the enterprise value, so you're adding the marketable securities and other long-term assets. For those values, do you use the values of the latest year?
You use so you were valuing all of this today at time 0, right?
Yes.
So you use the last full year of data that you have historically. Okay. So on a more uplifting note, who here drinks beer? Okay. What type of beer? What's your favorite? Cheap. What's cheap? Bud Light. All American guy. Awesome. Colin, what about you?
I like Sam Adams.
Oh, so you're like a Boston guy.
Yeah.
So we have Sam Adams, we have Chief, All American. What else? What other types? Stefan?
IPA.
IPA. Okay, more refined taste there. What the? What did you say?
I'm an aristocrat.
Something in joking.
I don't even know what that is. Okay.
Belgian quadroni.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know what a Belgian quadruple is, but you have Nathan, who has very refined palate when it comes to beer. Don't take him to a bar, you guys, okay? It'll be very expensive. What else?
Dos Equis.
So pumpkin, what did you say, Momo? Heineken, okay. So we have Heineken here. There, the local. Wachusett blueberry.
Guinness.
Guinness, we have Irish. Anything else?
There's like a name from Boston called Yearling. That one. Why you?
Yingling, yeah, it's from Pennsylvania.
Oh, I
Isn't
thought
it?
Philly.
Philly, yeah. Philly Yingling. Yingling's good.
because that's my name actually.
Oh.
Kind of like.
Yeah, actually, there you go. So it's your namesake beer. No, generally, when we're talking about the beer market, what do you think about it? How would you describe the beer industry in general?
It's getting very
All about
diversified. Like,
Diversified, fragmented,
yeah,
right?
Saturated.
Saturated, it's another good word. Now, here's a question. How hard do you think it is to grow for sales, especially for somebody like Anheuser-Busch?
Well, like, not that hard because they kind of just acquired all their, like, other massive, like, they just had a massive acquisition. Their sales are probably through the roof.
But that's because they just acquired.
Yeah, but in terms of, like, internal growth, I mean, I think it's more maintaining market share and, like, you know, I don't think they're, internal growth, you need, like, the age limit of drinking to go down for them to increase their sales and growth.
There you go. So, you know, we need to have, like, I mean, like little kids. That would be a huge market, right? So, you never know. Where was it? Is it in Ireland that they used to serve Guinness in schools, like back in the 1920s, Guinness for your health?
In Russia, up until 2011, beer was considered a soda.
There you go. So, well, because it's so light versus vodka, right? So probably is a soda. It's probably healthier than Coke if you think about it. So, okay, I want you guys to look at this graph. This is where I was so excited to talk about beer. Here we go. Look at this graph. So when we talk about Budweiser, Kyle, it's your favorite beer. How would you describe Budweiser? Affordable, so cheap. Come on, there has to be something more to it than that.
I can wake up the next day, look nothing happens, and go about my business.
Okay, so you can be a functioning alcoholic with Budweiser. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that.
No, but I mean, if I drink IPAs all night, I'm gonna wake up feeling terrible. If I drink Bud Lights, I'm well hydrated, and I'm ready to go.
Okay, so it has a high water content, and you can drink heavily. So, okay, what else? So we have a lot of international students here. When you think about Budweiser, what image do you get?
American.
American, right? All American beer. Now, do you guys think high end?
No.
No, it's pretty. It's like, you know, it's affordable. At least you're not drinking Beast. I mean, that's worse. So,
Say Beast?
Or Beast or
Yeah.
Natty Light. I mean, you want to. That's like really down there. So I want you guys to look at this graph. So this is from in the late 1990s. Anheuser-Busch had this problem where, exactly as we just talked about, the beer market, and this is before you really started getting into all the microbrews and all the fancy